Oh, actually, yeah, it's set up wrong.
This is my microphone. For the Athens Motion Commission meeting, we did approve our August meeting minutes unanimously, and we are moving on to the agenda. We're probably gonna have to make some adjustments. So we welcomed Alan back to the commission, welcomed our newest commissioner, Gabriella. Glad to have you. And so we'll move right on to our voting items, Vincent Drive and Cherokee Road. I've kind of combined them into one item. So the short version of this is Cherokee Road is one of the starter projects for the Athens in Motion plan. It was one of the first 5 projects recommended by the original committee, which consisted of regular people, staff. It was based on data and public input. And of the 5 projects, it's the only one that's not funded, but it has the final plans or 85% plans drawn out. That just basically means like we're about ready to go. Right.
Putting whatever left over.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that context. So at this point, you'll learn all about the funding sources, Gabrielle, but this would basically spend out what we have left to go for construction. And we have a lot of things on the burner right now But this one is ready to go. And then the other project that we heard about last week was Vincent Drive, which is a SPLOST 2020 project. And the request there was less about, it wasn't about filling in a gap in funding, but more asking us to provide a substantial amount of the funding for this project because the money originally allocated just isn't enough. However much funding. Yeah, so we could do that. Funding this would mean we would not be able to fund the big chunk of Cherokee fully.
If you fund both of these buildings, then we would.
Yeah.
Potentially, if we get up there.
Mm-hmm.
It would be with recommendations, that recommendation of phase like one. That's two and three. Yes. No, second, not really that. Or, yeah, that, okay, so yeah. Yeah, that one not being proposed in Cherokee. And they're here to speak on that. Questions regarding Cherokee, you guys have them.
Okay, yes. So we will, we have two votes potentially lined up here, but I'm kind of considering this together because depending on what we decide for one will dictate what we can do with the other. So maybe this is a little bit unconventional, but I would like to open the floor to questions or comments before we propose a motion. So questions or comments, anything lingering on Cherokee or Vincent?
Okay, so I've been trying to wrap my brain around the timeline that all these projects take. So, and then how we fund them, and it's really pretty impossible to try and make any sense of it. So what I want to ask is, how much total funding do we have left that we can parcel out here?
I don't remember the exact numbers of the total funding that we have left, but it would cover Cherokee.
$3 million or something? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pulling it up.
Okay.
So we can do Cherokee, or we can choose to do part of Cherokee and then have some money go to Vincent Drive, to sidewalks there.
Well, maybe while Daniel's pulling that up, I'll chime in on my recollection of the last 2 months' discussion on these topics. I think that I recall that in whatever pot Daniel was looking for, we have enough unspent money to complete Cherokee up to Love's. There's a little bit that doesn't go all the way to Lexington.
Right.
But that would have a really big impact. It's ready to go once we approve that, or once we recommend to the mayor and commission that they approve that. And I guess for Gabriella's sake, there's a lot of value. The longer we wait to spend money, the less valuable it is, especially with inflation, with construction costs. So it seems like having actually construction start with this money as soon as possible is a real advantage. But then that leaves Vincent largely unfunded, but at least last month we found some small pot of money, I don't remember where, but that potentially could be applied to planning and come up with a construction plan, and that could move that forward to a point where in the not too distant future there would be some.
Could we? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. For the minutes, third bullet on this topic was that we are interested in seeking other avenues of support for other projects pool. And that was the point at which we opted to table the matter. Is there any new information that changes all of that?
Do we have any new information, Daniel? Do we have any like new information about the Vincent Drive project or any updates on that? Yeah.
We're moving from concept through
Mm-hmm.
in the agenda this fall. So we still have the hearing. So it'll be the same as the other projects. But not very complicated. So SPOS usually just gives us a date and that date will move for a long.
I mean, yes, go ahead.
Data on what an impact of either of those projects.
Yeah, so they are going to talk to the community with regard to Vincent Drive about what segments they would like to be funded. But the short version of this is that these are both tier 1 projects. That means they are the highest priority in our community. So they're, it's not a matter of like which one is more important. I'd say that they all have importance. It's just,
There's
yeah.
plenty of other potential projects that aren't on the radar. They go into the same categories.
Okay, so where my question was leading is because everything happens so very slowly. And since there hasn't been any work done on Vincent Drive per se, is that correct?
Well, I mean, things are moving along with it, but
Simple things, this is just sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as involved as like.
Okay, I'm just wondering if we could like fund Cherokee and fund like design for Vincent.
I think what the gist of the
Yeah.
conversation was, and that there was some pot of money that
Mm-hmm.
was less than $100,000, I recall.
Mhm.
That could make an impact on the planning.
Right, and then
Mhm.
when we're putting together our T-SPOS proposal, maybe we could have some way of saying that we wish to provide funding for these projects that are currently in the hopper but not funded.
Yeah, I want to be careful though. I mean, like the reason why the Athens Motion Commission, the reason why the plan exists is to provide a prioritized order for a network that makes sense. And it's fine for like these individual submissions to come in and they are important and everything. But
Mhm.
that's kind of like, okay, you did that. That's part of your order. You have to request enough money. And then we have this sort of set system,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
right? And
this
so
is
we're not,
an Athens in Motion project.
right. It's not, but it's still it's in Athens in motion.
Yeah, but it's
It
a
is, but it's not
T-SPOS
one that we submitted.
citizen-driven project.
Yeah, we're not saying, no, there should not be sidewalks on Vincent Drive. Absolutely not.
Over support.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe the thing that I'm a little bit worried about is if we just suggest providing money for what is it, planning or whatever, that's not really what's going to help them to begin with. And two, I think that our our SPOS dollars do have to be tied to construction. So it's kind of like, what happens if this pot of money gets used to fund something that is only for like design and not construction of that project? I don't know, this is a little bit in the weeds.
Here's the most recent budget. They were maybe kind of throw it out. This line here, I showed you the road, right away, 3.4 that actually figured out how the budget last little bit. You see for the other projects that happen, for expense, or designated. So this light blue area is road designated. And the one thing that I had mentioned was that this 1.8 million for the application programs
Mm-hmm.
has not been officially designated. These two are recommendations to mayor and commission. Say vote, then those are the final ones. So if this body wanted to, we'd say we want to put 200,000 towards Vincent, which is it's a tier 1 pedestrian, but it's not necessarily. It has its own standalone, I believe it's SPOS 20. So that project is not enough to cover it, like you could put in however much you want to recommend. And then mayor and commission might agree with it or not.
Wait, what is the 200,000 coming out of? Yeah, I don't know. Something else is there's another T-Splost, and that's the next thing we're voting on. Yeah,
So you're not in favor of cutting into that 1.8?
no, I'm not, because we have plans for this. I think that, and this is just my thought, and that's okay if you guys don't agree with this, but Cherokee, it's ready to go.
I wouldn't want to do anything that would jeopardize traffic.
Yeah, Cherokee's ready to go.
Right, we've already invested in it a lot.
Yeah. And maybe if I had been on the original Athens in Motion committee, maybe I would have chosen a different set of 5 projects, but these decisions were made before us. We're building on the work of others, and it's just getting more expensive the longer we wait. So I think it would be my suggestion that we fund Cherokee and decline to fund Vincent Drive at this time for this vote.
Well, to vote to Cherokee. And then vote for
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we vote to request the mayor and commission to release the 3.4 million for Cherokee Road.
Does that sound all right? Did we say it? Did we get the numbers right and everything?
So.
Okay. So first from Teresa, second from,
Segments 2 and 3. Cherokee.
okay.
So type it in.
Can you re-say that? Can you say that with the segments 2 and 3?
It's the exact
You can
number
feedback.
we're gonna recommend.
This is feedback that he has written.
Motion to request mayor and commission to release 3.4 million to fully fund phases 2 and 3 of the Cherokee Road projects.
Maybe not release it, designate.
Designate.
Okay,
Well, wouldn't it be more appropriate, I can't read all of it.
Yeah, I can't read.
Yeah.
3 point,
I mean, if we have an exact number, let's
Right.
recommend that they
Right.
release that exact number.
Or, we can just say fund segments 2 and 3.
okay.
Yeah.
3.5.
Also be phrased in support staff's recommendation to fund construction of segment 2 and 3. And that way there's not a specific amount. Ultimately, if we
Okay.
do a calculation and that amount changes like that, there, so.
Can I amend my motion?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to amend my motion that we request mayor and commission to approve use of funds for Cherokee Road per staff recommendation.
And then we have first and
And my second.
further discussion on Cherokee Road. Okay. All those in favor of funding Cherokee
Aye.
Road? Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. All right, Cherokee Road is funded. Next item is Vincent Drive, discussion or motion. Next is Vincent Drive. So at this point, we would make a motion saying we decline. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to just get a little clarification. I don't disagree, and I'm always happy to hold, one pot of money together, but so if we were to spend 200,000 of this for planning, that would presumably negatively impact something else. And we discussed, what else is it earmarked for?
That's, the active transportation program is our small programs, right? Yes.
This is the small projects.
Mhm.
The small.
Which is already being divided up into like 5 different buckets.
The ones that are just like, sidewalk gaps,
Yeah.
accessibility improvement.
Yeah.
Once we have an improvement program for those things, we could, as part of that agenda, basically put money. We started on the building side.
Okay, so I have a question that's kind of a procedural question. So Vincent Drive was T-Splost or Splost 2020?
Mm-hmm.
And how much money was that project?
Like 900,000 is left over.
900.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like 4 phases, right?
Yeah. Where? You have a little friend there. And
Estimated construction total right now for sidewalks on the north side of the Vincent is $2,332,773.
Okay, what was their ask in the Splost?
The total SPOS project budget was 1.8.
So, and that money hasn't been encumbered at all?
Total unspent SPOS budget is 1.6 million. The SPOS construction budget is 900. There is a contingency of 367,000, 68,000, there's a contingency of that. Be used for design and construction. And so the shortfall of construction dollars currently is 1.38 million. Right, so depending, well, and right now, this is all, we're gonna get into multi-use, like, this is one of those things where when new commission sidewalks, they could say, well, we actually, this will be a multi-use path instead of sidewalk. And we have the numbers pulled together, so we know how much that would be, but this is what we- staff recommendations going forward, the agenda was sidewalk.
mhm.
I believe public, but it's opening soon, or is open, but we do not have results, so we don't know. I think one of the things we talked about was making recommendations based on what.
Mhm.
The low end of what y'all can potentially put forth is $146,000, which would, I think, if that one.
Sorry, I'm,
Diane segment
Yeah.
was the one that got funded for construction, y'all could basically ensure that it was fully built between those things. Because that's what all of us. Segment 3.
I don't,
Newton Bridge Road does not have sidewalk facilities.
right.
Jefferson River has a multi-use that's in final design.
Mhm.
That includes the intersection of Benson Drive and have particularly there, those plans are.
Mhm.
Your connectivity on one side, but I understand your connectivities to the park. Citizens.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we're gonna. You know, is it more important to be tied into new infrastructure, but, use that for, connect from the park out into the neighborhoods, and so on.
Mhm.
With the, yeah, well, it's multi-use would be on the south.
Well, it's almost like stage construction. Build out your cheapest infrastructure first, with sidewalk access to the park.
Mhm.
They connect the larger than Jefferson River spill.
Mhm.
It's on the opposite side of the road. That's just. What we get.
Mhm.
So do we have enough money to build the sidewalk from end to end, or is the answer no?
They don't.
Okay.
The Holland Park Splosh project doesn't have anything to do with the front, right? It's all that.
It's on.
But it sounds to me like we don't have without obliterating this small projects fund, we don't have enough money to make an
Mhm.
impact. Even if we, I don't think that the 200,000 or whatever, some smaller amount would really do this, wouldn't make a significant difference.
Yeah,
And to me, it seems like it's a little not fleshed out enough yet for us to even consider rating the smaller project fund.
Mhm.
My knee-jerk reaction on this is I'd like it to ripen a little bit more before we actually give it too much more thought.
Okay, so one further procedural question I have is that since this was a citizen generated proposal and it was on the ballot and it was approved by the voters,
Mhm.
do we have a responsibility, duty to see that it gets done?
That's not Athens in motion though. That's the
Yeah.
mayor and commission.
Okay,
So they have, some way, I think it's written broadly enough probably in the language to ensure like something gets built. That's why you see this phased approach, so
Yeah.
that way you can you can meet the letter of the law here. So this is, well, it does say, I don't think it forces you to build a 1.4 mile sidewalk. So basically they'll build something. And, there's things like interest that is being accumulated from these various SPLOST programs. So we're not the end all, it's just we're one of the options because it is a tier 1 bike
Mhm.
or tier 1 pedestrian project. This is not the last time we'll see Vincent Drive because it's tier 2 bike. And then once we get the plan update, we'll probably see this again.
Okay, so could we ask the mayor and commission for guidance?
No, because we provide them with guidance.
Okay.
We provide our thoughts, they take it or leave it.
Have any money to give?
Right, so I'm concerned about, not fulfilling, the county's not fulfilling an obligation that voters voted on.
Well, we don't know that yet. No, we're just like the first easiest run.
Okay,
Because there's like, okay, because we did the gap for Lexington, which was a gap. And this is more actually, we kind of need you guys to mostly fund the project if you were to do it or some portion of it. We're not the end all be all.
Okay.
This is still going to get done. It's tier 1.
all right. So it
You know.
sounds like what you're saying is that right now we can't do anything.
I don't think that we can do anything substantial. There's no money.
They're obligated to spend this loss money.
Mhm.
Period.
Okay.
So that's their financial,
But without-
and that goes as far as it goes.
Mhm.
We're just not.
Okay.
It goes.
And I mean, if we had to make a lot of money, I think it's a
Sure.
good project.
Great project.
Of course, take it,
Mhm.
but it's not there, so.
Okay. Do we want to go back to the people that submitted it and say, ask for more money?
Bike Athens submitted it.
Okay, Bike Athens, are you listening?
They might, it's also, if we end up with a bucket of tier 1 dollars, we could put that to something like this.
Okay.
That is an option. So, oh my gosh, there's that bug again.
Yeah,
I know
bug.
you're like our 10th commissioner, like, come on.
Go bug somebody else.
Yeah, so,
I'll object if it gets a vote.
okay.
All right, well, it sounds like we can't really, this commission, given where we are with our funding, we can't really do anything.
Yeah. So we could, if someone wants to, can make a motion to decline funding Vincent Drive on account of lack of funds.
So
Okay, can someone make a motion for that?
I move that we decline to fund, to use our money to help Vincent Drive right now. We're supportive, but we have other obligations.
Okay.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that's,
yeah, and I was second, with the understanding that if we get a big pot of money, that this would
Right.
percolate back up to the top of consideration.
further discussion. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Gabriella, you see like competing priorities. They're all tier one. They're all important.
Everything we already won, nothing is.
Okay.
So keep me.
Okay. Okay. Location change.
And you should be able to continue sharing your screen.
Mhm.
So online, sure, I'm gonna work on this once I get that.
All right. All right.
Exactly, else to us.
I just, someone else had the room, someone more important than us, which is fine. Okay, next item on the agenda is our, letter of support for, GDOT partnership on, West Broad Street. And so this is linked in your agenda. Hopefully you can pull that up and see it. Okay. I want to thank Teresa for spearheading this, and Daniel stepped in to provide some additional notes.
I misunderstood the entirety of the assignment.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, it's like, so this is a letter for the mayor and commissioners saying that we support TPW, Transportation and Public Works, and their partnership with GDOT to potentially put in some bike ped infrastructure along West Broad Street. This is coming out of our T-Splosh 2023 project, Project 4, that we submitted the last T-Splosh only 3 years ago, where we said, hey, you know, let's do something about this corridor. And it was a great thing that we did this, because GDOT has come recently and said, hey, you know, this is a very dangerous corridor. We want to put some money into it. It's not quite cost effective for us to just put in the money on our own, even though we wish they would just fund everything. They're like, hey, what if you chip in something? Like, well, we have a pot of money for that. We have a pot of money for that. So good thinking ahead, you know, good on the T-Splosh Advisory Committee for approving that project, and the Mayor and Commission at the time. So yeah, I think I tracked some changes in there, Teresa, just based on what, like, yeah. Great. So probably just go ahead and correct those so that way we can take a vote. But any questions? Anything y'all want to change about this letter? And again, it's going for the mayor and commission.
Well, I think it's nice. It's how you phrase it.
You did? You got it started?
You got it.
Changes.
Okay, yeah, accepting this.
That's our T-Splosh project. We changed that to the T-Splosh project.
Oh, no. Oh, did I take that? Did I accept that?
So because it's not the Athens Motion Commission's, it's a corridor project. And so.
But we do mention in there that we're the ones who submitted
Yes.
the project,
and I
right?
like that.
Okay.
because I agree that that's important to mention. I did not, and that's coming from Stephen and Ronnie.
Okay, our commissional was instrumental in the development of the project.
And then in the future references to it, we refer to it as the project.
Okay,
So just that was a minor change that I wanted to bring to y'all's attention.
okay. Great. Further discussion. With that, I will entertain a motion to, oh wait, who adjusted my header size? There was a reason I did that. So that way the bullet points 1 and 2 would not be broken up from 3 and 4. There's a,
It's a little too big. But
I was just trying to have it all be together. But
you could make it bigger. Or maybe I can say,
I would be prepared to make a motion to approve it, independent of the format.
thank you. All right, we have a first from Ed, a second from Art. Further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Wonderful. Any opposed? Very exciting, very exciting. Yeah, thank you, Teresa and Daniel. Appreciate y'all. And yeah, I can't wait to see where this goes. All right, next item on the agenda. Okay, so that's 3 big votes. Comes 4. All right, we are only about 10 minutes behind now. And Daniel's gonna work on pulling this up, but the T-Splost 2026 ad hoc committee met a couple weeks ago and had a robust discussion about what the Athens in Motion Commission should submit for consideration for funding for this coming up T-Splost. And in your agenda on the last page is an attachment with notes. And I want to thank Daniel for synthesizing our conversation into these lovely bullets. Everything in green is a potential project to be submitted. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know. I think we might have had this information last time, but the deadline for the submissions is November 10th. I don't know when presentations are due. I don't think we have that information yet.
I believe it's all November 10th.
Even the slides. Okay, we'll learn. We will learn. So for consideration, I'm going to actually start from the bottom and work my way up. So you saw that line item when we were going over, when we were talking about Cherokee and Vincent about active transportation projects. That was our small projects, small programs bucket there. And so we have the money to start these smaller programs. And Daniel and staff have presented this to Mayor and Commission, giving them a heads up about here, this is what we want to do. We would like money for road diets, pilot projects, ADA accessibility, bike lane gaps, sidewalk gaps. And so what this T-Splost project would do if we submitted it is it would be a continuation of those funds. So those funds that we have, that 1.8 million, that's kind of the starter money to get those started and to begin to develop out those programs. And then this T-Splost submission would be a continuation of that. So, and something I would like everyone to keep in mind is I think that this is going to be the same this year. When people submit a project, they have the option to submit a full project, and then sometimes the advisory committee will ask for an alternate version of that project. It's like a lesser amount or lesser in scope or has some sort of phase to it. So we should always be thinking about these projects in terms of what is the core of it, and then what is the big version? Because if the committee is interested, but they're like, we just have so many great projects, we don't want to fund all of it, then we want to be able to come back with a smaller version and have that discussion. And it shows good faith effort to negotiate, bargain, and having served on the T-Splost committee, I appreciated it. I think we appreciated it when groups were able to come back with an alternate for us to consider. Sometimes that alternate was too small, and sometimes they didn't come back with an alternate at all. But the committee, as a reminder, the committee itself, they're not going to be able to look at a project and say, oh, Athens Emotion, you said you wanted 17 million for small projects. Actually, we want to give you 15 million. They can only say 17 million or whatever our alternate is, which, you know, might be 10 million, might be 5, I don't know. Yes, the Mayor Commission, they can do whatever they want. They have carte blanche because they are our elected officials. So today, I would like for us to vote on what projects we're going to work on. And we don't need to vote on the amounts right now. I think that the committee can figure that out and work with staff on that. I really just want us to vote on what we're going to submit. So we have small projects, like I said. And then last time we submitted 2 corridor projects. That was Atlanta Highway West Broad, which we just talked about. That's why we have that money to collaborate with GDOT on. Lexington was the other one. And we could submit those projects again, but there hasn't been any construction yet. So I think it's fine to maybe come back to those maybe next round of T-SPLOST when they're further along. Or we could let those user groups submit for those corridors. We have Broad Street, which is based on what is going on right now with Broad Street to the roundabout, and then Millage Avenue.
Well, it's real quick, it's about to be able to connect from here.
Okay.
And give us camera and audio.
Okay.
Like 20 passwords since we got them.
Yeah.
Oh, and two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Not pretty.
It's always good to know what you have to do.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna join the meeting.
Okay, I'm muting myself.
Yay.
Hey. All right, so now we have that. Now, can someone talk?
Mic check. Oh, you need one of them?
I hear y'all.
Yeah. Todd.
Apollo 13.
I mean, rocket science would be easier. It at least would make sense. Okay.
Oh, isn't that special?
Okay, yes. So what the committee, the ad hoc committee has suggested is a bucket for small projects. Submitting specific projects for Broad Street and Village Avenue as critical corridor projects. And then what we called last time the big bucket, tier 1 capital projects. And that rough number here, which we're not voting on the number today, was like kind of a rough estimate of what would it take to build out the rest of our tier 1 projects. And actually, probably more than 100 million, probably 500. So, and another strategy is that we could still submit individual projects for Urban Road, Gainesville, Cedar Falls. These are specific ones we talked about, and there's other tier 1 in there. What we should know is like when you submit a bucket, trying to sell people the committee on a vision, but they just whittle it down. So that's one of the reasons why we pull out Millage Avenue and Broad Street, because they are big projects, they're big dollars, they require that state collaboration. So I would like to open the floor to the ad hoc committee for comments or thoughts on that you would like to share based on our meeting, anyone who is there.
I just want to make one comment, and
Yes.
that's the Google question. Okay, so, Daniel and I spent some time on the phone, with, Kent Middleton and Kenneth, Ortega, who are involved in the Game School Road project. And they are real excited to submit a T-Splosh proposal, which would cover some portion of that tier 1 span. So how do we handle that? Do we just take that off our list and let them submit it, or do we?
It's a resident submission, they can submit it. I wouldn't change what you're doing.
Okay.
Ultimately, I kind of have SPOS projects divided down into 3 categories. You got staff, BACs, and residents. So BACs including Athens Emotion Commission, the Greenway Commission. Firefly is not a BAC, they're a nonprofit, so technically it falls under the resident, but in the same way that like Athens could put something forward, you know.
Okay. No, but what we're saying is that if we put forward a tier 1 capital projects ask, it could include those things. It doesn't necessarily include those things, or?
Yes, I mean, you'd say, because I mean, like you said, that right there could be 100 or it could be 500.
Right.
It really depends on what you do. Gainesville Road might be a $500,000 project if it's a road guy, or it could be a $20 million project if we're acquiring right of way and demolishing buildings.
Yeah, and one of the great things that is coming out of Daniel and Katie and staff's work on the plan revision is we're going to have options besides these were like big project all or nothing type approaches, which will give clarity, because right now it's kind of like, oh God, everything is a massive project, and they all, of course, include stormwater and utility relocation and stuff, but sometimes we just need a first phase that's something like Prince Avenue, which less than $500,000, extremely effective, very much in use. So that's kind of coming. It's just we're not there yet. So we're kind of having to look at like, oh God, what is the most each of these could cost? Yeah. And just to provide some context, our big bucket project from the last T-Splosh is pretty much all being taken by Barber Street. So it was a big bucket for a bunch of tier 1 projects, but it's just all going to Barber Street. However, that's kind of okay because there's only so many projects staff can handle at one time anyway. So we could have $500 million, and that would be great, but it would also take a lot of resources to make that happen before the next T-Splosh. Realistically, when we're looking at this, I want to think about like, what do we want to see in Athens 10 years from now, maybe 15 years from now? It's kind of like trying to see the cycle. Anyone else from the ad hoc committee? There.
Okay, so the Millage Avenue, it's not a current AIMC project, or is it? I mean, that's entire length, or is it a bunch of little segments?
Yes, it is 3 tier 1 projects. Okay. Plus, there's a segment on there that's not tiered. Right, so it is 3 tier 1 projects plus some additional.
I could share my screen if y'all want to see some maps there. I always love a good map session.
Yeah, I think I've already had.
I was just going to voice my support for the village project, especially. I'm supportive of the whole listing that's out there, but village in particular, I feel like it's a major thoroughfare that's used a lot by bikes and pedestrians, and I think bikes especially ride under pretty dangerous conditions. Mm-hmm. But it remains very popular. There are a lot of businesses. It has the potential of easing traffic into UGA if it's set up well, and it encourages people to live along there, the students and the biker walking to the university. So to me, it just seems like it would be such an enhancement
to Athens active motion sort of.
And well, I certainly agree with that. Where are the Riverbend stuff and where we talked about going Riverbend, at Village and everything, but that indicated from Prince all the way to Riverbend. I was unaware. Well,
Or Village, or?
from the critical corridor projects, Millage Avenue, from Prince Avenue to Riverbend Road, 25 million. What are we doing for 25 million on that whole run?
Oh, on the section that,
Oh, okay, yes.
the blue numbers are placeholders, but
I don't care about the number.
yeah,
It's the from Prince to Riverbend as opposed to
so,
anything else.
yeah, so that's all three tier one projects.
But I think I think that's defining the critical corridor.
So along, yeah, so along Miller, so let me pull up this is the Athens Mission Project
So
map.
nothing's changing to the sidewalk that is already existing on that. Not necessarily. This would probably be a huge project because we have to bury utilities. And so this would we'd be presenting this as like upgrading Village for the future or to accommodate Athens' growing population. So it might be, but there could be an alternative or pilot project that just works with the existing road bed. We don't know.
And we usually hire consultants to help us determine what is possible. This is the millage, current sets of millage tier one projects that are bike tier one from Prince Avenue down to Riverbend Road. Beyond Riverbend Road, that is not an Athens in Motion project from the 2018 plan, but we are adding it in to the 2024 plan. So
to take us all the way to Whitehall.
correct.
It sure be nice to get to the botanical ones, but
Yeah,
I guess there is the railway that usually there. Really quick. I encourage you.
it's part of a future multimodal project that might be transit oriented / also have multi-use path for pedestrian access. Is what we've heard, but nothing is set in stone with it. But that goes along the rail, which goes up through campus here and it crosses here and would then carry on south down to.
And past the bypass, it stops being a state highway.
And
At the ramps, yes, I put a sidewalk and drainage under the tin loop bridges. And you'll have a hard time putting multi-use without a roadway diet on either side because of the footing locations for the bridge structure itself. So if an off system is viable, and UGA uses theirs, that might be a prime option versus spending all your money just to get across the tin loop. It'd be a huge construction project, cost-wise.
so I think ultimately though, what we were kind of getting at with, I'm going to switch maps. And I'm putting up a map of the critical corridors as outlined in the Athens Motion Plan with a slight modification. There are two different colors. So the red lines, which in this screen is not super obvious. They could be more differentiated, but the red values, which is Prince Avenue, which ends here, and then North Avenue from here to there, Lexington Road from here to there, Atlanta Highway, and West Broad Street and Millage are all considered critical corridors in the Athens Motion Plan. Now, what I'll be bringing before y'all as we get into the next stage of development with the Athens Motion Plan will be the potential of adding in Jefferson Road as the extension of Prince. So this being a critical corridor from Prince all the way out to Jefferson Road, to the county line. And then adding in Danielsville Road off of the end of, north, thank you. Okokonee Street as the filler between downtown and Lexington. And then, the downtown roads, I think Thomas Street, Pulaski and Doherty, just to connect those together. And I have this one in here, which will require more discussion, but it's, Hawthorne. I don't know if Hawthorne really needs to be a critical corridor, because really, if you look at the definition of, I think originally I was thinking so, but if you look at the definition of the plan, it really talks about those main connections in and out of Athens that cross the perimeter as you come in and out of the perimeter.
I would certainly want to achieve those other things before Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Hawthorne probably happened first, but. But with this being critical corridors, as laid out in the Athens Motion Plan, of these, North Avenue is funded through raise. Lexington Road has had 2 consecutive corridor T-SPLOST projects. Atlanta Highway has had 2 consecutive corridor T-SPLOST projects. And Prince Avenue has had one of just Prince, and then the second one, which is consecutive, adding in Jefferson Road, which leaves basically, and you could make the argument that the Atlanta Highway project, as outlined in the project description, does include West Broad Street. I need to double check that, but
No, it does.
it does.
We submitted it
Well,
just to.
Before we go too deep down this.
Yeah.
I asked a question
Yes.
and I didn't get an answer that I'm aware of. My question was, what were we talking about doing on Village?
To be determined.
Bike ped connectivity.
Okay,
It's-
all right, just leave it at that. Just leave
Yeah.
it at that.
I mean, ultimately, with it being critical corridor, tier 1 bike facility, we want bikes to safely travel on Village. What does that look
We want
like?
people in access to transportation, so there's
Yeah.
scooters and all
Right.
that. But if your question,
One wheel.
it's really important, right? It's like, how are we gonna pitch this to the committee when we're trying to keep things open and we want to do what staff and consultants recommend? Because we don't want to get pigeonholed in suggesting one thing or another when it may not make sense for what's going along there. The road bed is as wide as it was when there were streetcars in place, right? It's still the same width. I can't wait to pull up that picture of the presentation. Show the streetcar. Yeah.
I used to joke about Lumpkin Street being a miracle of engineering where they took a 2-lane and made it into a 4-lane with just a paintbrush.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that will be.
So that suffices.
Yeah. I think for us.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up because ultimately that's what makes these projects so difficult is like when you're applying for a greenway project, for instance, it's the standard width of 12 feet, ideal. And you can calculate that out and we've done it. With bike infrastructure, it's almost like, I mean, if I've learned anything, it's like the recommendations that I learned when I first came on have changed over time. We have a new bikeway design guide coming out this fall, where they're going to come, NACTO is going to have new recommendations. And a lot of that is going to be actually tackling a lot of the webinars I've looked at recently or been a part of, sitting in on. Stroads are one of the really big things to tackle here, which are like, Atlanta Highway, Lexington Road, like those commercial corridors that are like really, really wide roads, multiple lanes, high-speed cars. You also have destinations along the whole way. How do you safely exist in that space? And those are also where a lot of our fatalities are at. And that's the same across America. It's not like a unique thing that we have. And so I saw some really interesting things last week on how you can, kind of address that. But ultimately, I think, so to finish that out, just with millage, you could say, right now, all we're basically saying is like with the 6 critical corridors that exist, millage and potentially West Broad are the only ones that aren't individually funded through some mechanism. And the goal here would be to have at least all 6 critical corridors have some sort of effort to kind of work towards overall safety, better access on those 6 corridors as the corridor projects that are really the big picture things. Yeah, and so when it comes to millage specifically, it might be that we end up asking for $4 million to bury utilities, which would be a start. And it would literally just put them in the ground and it wouldn't change anything else, but it would make it where we could do phase 2, which could be, widening for a bike lane, doing a multi-use path. I think we all know that like if you put a multi-use path along Millage, it would just get filled up with more joggers.
Yeah.
And it would still be very difficult to ride as cyclists.
It would be.
And, do you take a 3-lane road and move it down into a 2-lane again? But then that could cause traffic issues with turns. So, not knowing exactly what it takes, like when we have the project get presented here in this really big picture scheme, when you're looking at projects across the whole county, you take that and then it gets whittled down by the committee, and then the mayor and commission might whittle it down, and they have ideas and they put new things in and they insert their own projects, and ultimately that creates a project description, and then the public votes on that. And then each of those projects have to go through concept, preliminary engineering, right of way, all of those steps. And when we hit concept, so for instance with Barber, we said, okay, time to do our tier 1 project. Here are the 4 that we want to do. And this was right after the plan was accepted. And we came to Mayor and Commission, they approved us to proceed with sidewalks on Jefferson River Road, sidewalks on Cherokee Road, sidewalks
So
on
there's multiple
that one,
phases in this
and then
meeting,
the bike ride.
but
And
we
so-
want to get something.
So there's steps to go, and we'll figure that out.
Yes, okay, so that's millage, Broad Street. And when the committee talked about this, we're thinking, from the roundabout at Hancock, which is, former T-Slot project, all the way past downtown to Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway. And the reason why, I think the tiering for this actually ends up Thomas Street, but the reason why we wanted to go all the way down to, or actually ends up Lunkin, thank you, Daniel. The reason why we wanted to go all the way down to MLK Parkway is because it is an intersection of both of our trail systems, the Greenway and the Firefly Trail. So we kind of wanted to look at that all, because right now there's a bike lane up to Thomas Street, but there's not a great way to interface from the trails to our downtown. It's just kind of broken up and there's a big hill, which is difficult to. I think people doing it. Also see our law enforcement doing it. I was very impressed on their bikes.
So, and that right here, this, and to be clear, also the multi-use path here, or the roundabout is located here. And that the support letter that we just read aloud and voted on is a multi-use path along Atlanta Highway from basically right here at Epps Bridge Road, right here, and it goes along to the roundabout here.
That's technically the Epps-Bridge Road ramp and everything. That's technically-
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not done. That's technically where Atlanta Highway starts and Broad ends, right? Right in that neck of the
Atlanta
woods.
Highway, I think, starts.
Is it at the river?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's if it's called all Atlanta Highway.
Well, I actually have an office on West Broad Street, and everybody's, oh, you're on Atlanta Highway.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that. So,
Just going, so we can go back. So, but all that to say that, yeah, the West Broad thing, and this is another one where it's like, what is it gonna be? Well, we'll have to partner with GDOT and see what they help us come up with, because it's their road. We could think technically the only section that we could really do our own thing on is from Thomas Street to the Greenway here first, and okay.
I'll be honest with you guys, I feel a little nervous about submitting this one because I don't have any ideas because the road narrows a lot. However, I'm not an engineer. I'm not, like, I don't think we don't have to figure out like what is going to be the exact thing. We just,
Bike and safety. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We just
Figure out
have
how
to-
to get a bike through downtown after all that.
I don't know.
It's a hard call.
We don't have to be professionals, but if we want ACC to like, and GDOT to talk to us sometimes, you have to show the money. You know, sometimes to get that conversation going.
And it might just be that we start with pedestrian safety, and we don't have room for bikes, and that's a future thing, but
This is tier one for, bikes though. You have
Right.
sidewalks on both sides, although they're not fun.
that's the thing is like, that's gonna change too in this new plan because they were just looking at sidewalks, yes, no, and not how comfortable are these sidewalks. Yeah. So it could be a complete streets project where you're looking at street trees, like, improvements, things to make it shadier, a wider sidewalk that maybe it would be acceptable for a bike to go on, like 8 feet. It's still considered a sidewalk, but that gives you a little more space. But then again, like, bikes on sidewalks is dangerous ultimately. I had a bike I was turning right onto Prince from my road and I was coming up and there was a car coming. So I was waiting and I was looking at him and then he would stop. I was like, oh, I guess they're turning here. They want me to go first. And I started to go, but then I looked and there was a cyclist right in front of my car. And like, I moved up like 6 inches and hit the brakes immediately.
They're on the sidewalk.
And he was on the sidewalk,
Yeah, right.
but like coming on the side of the road where, yeah, it was like I was looking for traffic flow this way.
It's a bad mojo to run over a cyclist on your way to this speed.
Yeah.
It's a great bike.
I know.
Probably get a chance right now.
That's for all of, now, years ago, we did a sidewalk project. The church on West Broad, up to the intersection. We partnered with GDOT to do a signal upgrade and some new ADA stuff. And the conversation at the time, they thought that the signal upgrade was looking at a use opposite of the church. And that's why we put the new sidewalk in on that side of the road, was potentially bringing it down the right side, down to the roundabout and having some connectivity.
And that's the one that we just voted that is going before mayor and commission now. Because GDOT said, we did a safety audit there and GDOT said we could include a multi-path here if the city pays for $3 million of it.
This is what we look at.
I never get the full stories. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but and see, I didn't get that previous part. I knew that sidewalk was there, that new sidewalk. But see, that sidewalk is appropriately spaced and good width, and you have all the ADA accessibility. And so it could just be that the projects further down are this. For the very least, it's a master plan for what we can do there. And maybe that's something that as developers come in and start redeveloping along Broad Street, where they have been, they have to then follow what we have plans for and install it as they do those.
But I kicked all that sidewalk back from what we originally proposed.
I'm glad.
Yeah, that took a little easier.
Yeah.
With some problems.
Excellent.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay, so you've heard about our two critical corner project submissions. We talked a little bit about tier one capital projects. Coming up on the end of this meeting, what questions or thoughts do y'all have about this approach? You don't want to know. You don't want to say.
I like it.
I like focusing on village and broad in that area. One, it's going to get student cars off the road. And I would love that more than anything, is to have a little bit less. right now you, I don't know if I've ever seen a bike rack at a fraternity on Village. But if they could actually safely bike somewhere, they bike to campus, they bike to downtown.
We're all for it. We don't have enough parking, buses are crowded, we're all for alternative transportation.
And certainly there's,
Especially that proximity to that
Yeah.
close.
like, I know when Clark Central gets out, you can't move to that intersection with Baxter.
When I was coming to the meeting last month, came down the Village, where I live, was that's the route, and the Park Central traffic was backed up all the way to Hancock. Not to Broad, to Hancock. Yeah, that's crazy.
Too many people like to Raising Cane's so that I can actually pass that on.
I know, right? I know. You need to get them a little bike structure.
So I guess we have, what we're proposing from that meeting is 4 projects that Athens in Motion puts forward. 1 for tier 1 capital projects, 1 for the Milledge Avenue corridor, 1 for the Broad Street corridor, and 1 for small projects.
Weren't we calling it small programs? Didn't you get on to me for calling it small projects?
Yeah. Small programs. So, and that
Project
includes,
being a special word.
that includes sidewalk gaps, bike lane gaps, ADA accessibility, pilot projects, and road diets.
So I guess the only, well, I'm supportive of all of this, but I guess my concern is if we need to provide a little bit more guidance about our priorities, or do we need to set a priority, or do we run the risk of having too many things just arbitrarily taken out?
You mean as far as like the tier 1 capital projects go?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, does our support of Broad, would that dilute our support of Village? Or are they independent of each other?
They're independent, and it may be that the committee or the commission decided to prioritize one and not the other. We got lucky, I don't want to say we got lucky, but Athens was fortunate last time in that the committee and the mayor and commission saw the value in putting money towards, continuing money for Lexington and Land Road versus Broad. And so we have our equal support, yes. Yeah, so what you're saying is like, it's better just one project or something like that?
Well, yeah, is there a risk of, and then 2, or is that better? I'm just strategically.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good approach. I think this is a balance. I think this is a balanced approach between like broader things that gives flexibility and then something very specific like Milledge Avenue, like Broad Street. It's my thought. But who knows? Every committee, every TSLOF committee is different. They may not like that. And every commission is different. There's a different set of commissioners who will get to approve this. And so we'll work hard on it. We'll put this out there and we'll just see what happens. It's just our job.
Well,
Good job.
and like last time, the Athens Motion Committee put forward a multi-use path proposal on Atlanta Highway and one on Lexington Road. And both of those got rewritten as corridor projects to be
Right.
continuations. So, it could be very well that this plants the seed for someone to say, we need something there.
Yeah. And PPW, Transportation and Public Works, is still going to submit some projects. They're just trying to decide what.
Ours is, the ones that I'm working on specifically are smart city technology, intersection improvements, multimodal safety programs, and the residential traffic management program. So
Is Vision Zero doing anything different, Katie, or is that?
the project, I think all of yours are included. Okay, so the multimodal safety programs are the Vision Zero ones. That includes safe routes to schools, safe routes to parks, road safety audits, speed management toolkit implementation. So we're going to piece that together.
And so we're at 5:42. So I guess at this point, I would like to entertain a motion that the Athens in Motion Commission develop 4 projects with the amounts to be determined. One for tier 1 capital projects, 2 critical corridor projects, one being Village Avenue, the second one being Broad Street, and then a third project as a continuation of our newly in progress being developed small programs items. That's everything. So
I'll make that motion.
all right, go first from Alan, second from Mark. Further discussion.
Do we want to get volunteers or who's doing what?
Let me do this fast.
Absolutely risk.
Let me get this. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's step 1, y'all. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Randy, who couldn't make it to this meeting for coming to our ad hoc, with our ad hoc committee meetings. So next step will be to develop forms for each of these. We'll need to figure out how we're doing that and to develop the presentations. So I think that I would like to discuss that outside of this meeting.
Do you want to vote on the monthly minutes from last month?
We did.
Cool.
We have approved those. And they are reflected in our minutes. Thank you, Blaine. I think you have them in there, right?
What's that?
That our minutes that will be approved.
Yes.
Okay, yes. They are.
I was reading them from the link from your agenda.
I think we got that taken care of.
Must have been.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, running over cyclists and all that.
It was last week.
Yeah, just the design of our roads, it really is. Okay. Thank you. Great. Okay, those are the big votes. So now we usually have staff report backs. Todd, are you alive? Are you still with us? Did you call us to the room?
I'm still here,
Let's hear.
so let me cut my light on.
Hey, Todd, I saw, Todd, I saw a copperhead on the Forest Creek Greenway. Wow.
You saw what?
A copperhead.
Oh, a
On Forest
copper.
Creek Greenway. Yeah, I got a picture. I texted my friends. I texted Daniel. I'm like, and I was scared to pass. So you know what I did? I took my road bike on the natural surface trail and detoured.
Okay.
I was like, oh, cool, my road bike can handle this. So, nature, Greenway monsters.
I got that out of the video, so people aren't scared to go on the green now.
Oh.
We don't want to share it to the world.
We have the detours built in. My friends were like, you can go around it. It was fine. I'm like, no, there's a fence there. And we're just having a stand.
Well, no, we were saying that like they're pretty low energy, so like you probably could have. I've walked like within a few feet of one before because it's on a single track.
I got some pictures, but I stayed away.
I understand. But
How
yeah,
far do they jump?
they don't jump. They don't really.
Oh,
They don't
okay.
jump.
Well, then,
It's not
let's
that.
go fast.
They really would prefer to pretend that you can't see them and you just.
That's not the impression that I got.
Still, like if you had left and come back 5 minutes later, he'd be gone.
Okay, sorry.
Anyways.
Anyway, that was my fault. Todd, please continue. Please.
So I didn't do a PowerPoint because I was figuring that we might run out of time. So, but just quickly, the greenway from the Nature Center to Walker Hall, the safety improvements, is well underway. They've cut a few trees down and begin doing some preliminary. They get the silt fences in and they're basically doing demo right now on that. And then the bridge, Easley Mill Bridge trail, we have not sent it out to, our SPOS has not sent it out for bid just yet, but they're probably will do that soon. You probably can see that they've cut some trees down along the bridge to do investigation of the foundations and other things and prepping for the work. And we are currently working with GDOT, Georgia Power. They are, as part, they will have to move that big transmission line, and so it's going to impact the that existing granite pylon sign that's out there. And so we're working on an easement negotiation with that. And then we've also asked the engineer for the bridge. There was going to be like a 60-foot gap between I guess Okeechobee Street and Easley Mill Trailhead. And so we asked them to close that gap by putting a sidewalk trail connection in, because they're going to put a multi-use trail along the Oconee Street. And so we're asking them to close that. And so right now their engineers looking at it and how it impacts that location of that Georgia Power transmission pole and their guardrails and that kind of stuff. So, and then Firefly, oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's out to bid. I'd have to pull it up and all, but anyway, it's coming soon, the first segment of it. So, but Derek hasn't set up any kind of pre-constructions yet. So, but
That's the section that needs to be finished
Yeah, so,
between Spring Valley Road and whatever. Yes, but they're, it's divided out because they're still working on the easement acquisition for some final property owners. So what, and Todd, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to do a big segment from Hancock Road up to, I guess, those properties.
correct, up to that big,
Yeah.
there's a big farm and that we're going to get it right up to the subdivision. So.
are we talking about this one right here, Todd, on the screen?
Yeah, so that big, it's a conservation subdivision, so go past that one, and you had about right where your cursor, about right in there somewhere. Basically, you can see that fence line that goes up to Moore's Grove. That's where the Oakmont subdivision starts. So they're gonna start up to there and then finish negotiation with the two. I believe they got 2 or 3 property owners still left in the Oakmont area that they're working with. So.
The section along Spring Valley Road from this, so Hancock up to that is about to start construction?
Let's see. I'm trying to pull up my notes from. Let's see. Pulling up my. August. Says Derek says they're working on the contracts. Pre-con is coming in a month, is what he told us last week. So
For which,
the pre-construction for the Firefly Trail will happen in October.
and that's from Hancock
From
to
Hancock to the big
Oakmont subdivision boundary.
Yes.
Todd, has Derek said when he thinks that portion will be complete, just that segment?
The the Oakmont piece, he hasn't said anything about
Sure.
how long it's gonna take to get those final easements. And
Oh, no, I don't mean the final easements. I mean like, when is he projecting construction to be done for this segment that's going?
okay. Um, I think he said it a couple of months ago, but it's still on schedule, from what, we had talked about in the past. So, it's probably towards fall of next year.
Fall next year? So like a
Yeah,
year?
I'm trying to pull up um, my, PowerPoint from last time just to see, confirm
Okay,
that, but it'll be fall, winter of next year.
nice.
So,
Okay. Nice. Anything else, Todd?
that's the major things, and all the MLK segment is still way in we've interviewed, but it's still moving forward, so it hasn't really done much.
Yeah, the segment of the Greenway along MLK between,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of in the streets, the gap.
yeah, we're gonna have our scoping meeting fairly soon. Mayor and Commission to approve the consultant that we selected as as our sub-consultant is what I have. And then we'll have a scoping meeting coming up soon.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for hanging with us.
No problem.
Anything else y'all want us to know?
Do you have anything?
Have you got access to crash records or about this or?
Oh, you're gonna cut this,
Yeah, but I'm like today, so I thought I would email you all findings. But I think you already heard about most of that. Looking at since August, that was 53 fatalities on the roads, but some of them were, like one was an homicide, and 6 were related to serious injuries, but I can report with more details if that works for you all.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, we're excited to have this back for what we were doing crash reports and getting a lot of great detail out of that. So Katie has just moved into her position. So
One was the homicide and the other was the person rear-ending the dump.
Right, you had an emergency section in the big incident.
Yeah.
And the other one was a motorcyclist fleeing the sheriff onto Walmart to someone turned left.
Right. None of that class of thing will be avoided by us.
Yeah. Well, actually, I would the dump truck, because I'm thinking if the road's a really fast road and the dump truck is in not a slip lane, it'd probably slow way down.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd say there's a compatibility with fast traffic and lots of driveways where people are making elections.
Sure.
Design wise.
Daniel, anything else you want us to know?
This is a new project tracker map thing that we have. And so these are all of our projects currently in Athens. Once it loads, you've got kind of the greenway there in green. The
That's
blue
great.
are projects currently in right-of-way acquisitions. We have the sidewalks along Lexington Road. You've got Firefly Trail. You've got the roundabout and Riverbend Road. Preliminary engineering is purple, so you got Barber Street, Chase, Prince Avenue, Jefferson River Road, some other sections. This is the Firefly connector right here that connects from Lexington Road up to Firefly Trail. That's in preliminary engineering now, as well as Cherokee Road, and I think a section. It's showing a section of road, Maltese path going down to Walmart. That's that section that is partially funded. You guys voted a couple months ago. So that section of Maltese path Timothy Road is also in here, so it's just like a map. And then the funded projects are all the gray ones. You can see a lot of, and this is our grant funded, Oglethorpe and Hawthorne, the rest of Prince Avenue and Old Jefferson Road and Jefferson.
Yeah, just for clarity, gray doesn't mean it's fully funded. It just means like there's some money that could go along here. It's not necessarily like we're going to be able to build out.
Yeah. So for instance, the Timothy Road, the whole corridor was listed originally as funded. And then the section that was voted to move into preliminary engineering is now purple. That's great. Awesome. Yeah, and then we've also got like existing bike lanes and existing sidewalks once you zoom into certain. So we're messing around with this as a status map. And yeah, try out some new project management stuff. So come together.
Is this is private or is this available to?
It's not available to the public, but I will be using it in our meetings.
Great. It's possible we could potentially like do screenshots of this and use this.
I assume screenshots of this will get taken. That's the top. Yeah, for our presentations, this is actually, you're going to see a lot of maps that look like this now with all of our projects, because this is our context map that we're going to be putting in our presentations to Mayor Commission and show the context of the surrounding projects and what's connecting to that.
Anything else you want to make sure?
So, the NOPA has been submitted to notice of proposed administrative action. And that is the thing that will make it where we can start working with consultants. Athens-Clarke plan. So it's haven't heard anything back.
Committee updates. And Julie had to be out today.
The letter highway did not meet, but I did send an email to Derek, asking him if he had any ideas about his last projects that's in the Atlanta. I haven't heard back from him.
I don't think policy and projects. Really? And then we already talked about this last night. Just last 2023? Do you think? No?
We had a meeting to discuss the College Avenue Square.
Oh.
We should vote on it. Nothing criteria.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know if you guys haven't followed up on that, but they, the College Square area, the downtown development authority has decided to allow the bill and get it done in less than 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all that.
It's great. It seems like it's still going to be possible for people rolling to get through there, which I think is one thing that I have saw before taking that way to get this on scooters. So looks like this should be pretty good. Green light. UGA.
Nothing.
Great. Anyone else? Scott, Joyride Friday?
Joyride is Friday, depending on the weather. Apparently, there's a hurricane moving through the state.
Right.
That's all.
Okay. Great. Thank you all. I know this was a while for sitting. Thanks for your flexibility and patience.
So they have that room also reserved for October. So we're gonna have to come up with alternate space. In January, they start doing Wednesday meetings and not Tuesday, fourth Tuesday. So I still have to get it locked down, but I know that there's availability in November, which we usually have. That's like the same month as, well, it's the same week as Thanksgiving. We usually reschedule.
Right, we usually do the 5th.
Yeah, so
It would still be, that was gonna be weird.
it would either be the third Tuesday, the 19th, or cancel, and then we do it in December.
Is it available on the 19th?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out the availability thing. We just might not be in there until January, and honestly, I can't promise it'll be there until January. But essentially what happened is, I had it booked out with a current event, and Mayor and Commission needed it, and so they canceled that recurring event booking, and then it opened up the slot for other people to book, and then they booked out the rest of the year. Here we are.
That's okay, we'll figure it out.
So on the plane.
This is how it goes, it's all right. We'll work on it. Okay, thank you all. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Again. Any
All the nurses. Everyone's talking.
opposed?